Hello, my friend. Welcome back to the podcast. I want to ask you, I've been attending some networking groups and talking to some energy healers. And I don't know about you, but I was sharing that it feels like in the air, I just feel like I'm so done and I'm so ready to let things go. And I have this like energy inside my body that it's just like go time. Like I just want to leave a lot of the past behind. There were some things that happened in 2024 that were just, and I'm just like done. And I have this like energy of like wanting just to transform, get unstuck, and like, let's go. And I was talking about that with some of the energy healers, and they're like, oh my gosh, a lot of my clients are coming to me feeling the same way. There's this like shift in the air that's happening where there was some heaviness in 2024, and they're just ready to leave it behind. Actually, before I started recording this podcast, I just feel like I got to clean out my closet. So I took a portion of my closet, just a small amount, and I took all out everything. I was clearing it out and I put just like really not as much back in. And I'm just like really ready to do a massive closet edit because some of that stuff is just, again, feeling like weighing me down, bogging me down. It's just not going to serve me going into 2025. So if you're feeling like that, seems like it's the energy out there. And a lot of us are feeling that. We're ready for that next level and wanting that transformation and just bring our health and our good energy into 2025. So in today's podcast, I really want to talk about embracing that and bringing that forward and choosing our freedom. But first, I want to talk about this report that came out that it hit my social media feed, a blast, and just all kinds of content coming out, people talking about it. And that is the US Surgeon General's Advisory Report. So I also have video to my podcast. And if you go to my YouTube channel, I'm mentioning the video because I'll be holding up some pages from this report. I will also link this report into the show notes so that you are best informed on what is coming out and the latest and greatest in research. So we're going to talk about this report. And what I really want to point out are some of the graphics in there. And that's why I'm telling you about the YouTube channel, because if you're like me and a visual learner and you see a graphic, it like imprints in my brain and I don't forget it. And when it's imprinted in my brain, oftentimes it lands to change my habits and my behaviors. So if you're pictorial like me and a visual learner, you might want to check out the YouTube video of this podcast so you can follow along with some of the graphics, or you can just download the link that's in the show notes where you could get this report yourself. So first and foremost, what is so alarming about this report to me? It's alarming to me because, of course, I've been studying alcohol for what feels like decades. It's been 7 years now that I've had my business and really understanding alcohol and how it doesn't do any benefits to our body. It really harms our health. And so I point that out because the first graphic just threw me for a loop, and I'm holding that up right now on the video portion of this podcast. What this graphic shows, for those of you that are not seeing it, is that less than half of Americans know that there is a link between alcohol consumption and the risk of developing cancer. So they compare it to other things in this graphic. You know, we know as a society here in the United States that we know that radiation, tobacco, asbestos, yes, this all can cause increased risk of cancer. And 53% of us know that obesity can increase the risk of cancer, which that to me was surprising because I know we know obesity leads to a lot of things like autoimmune conditions. It was really surprising to me. Like I thought that's a really good statistic. We still have a ways to go. But what's alarming to me is like, oh my gosh, alcohol is a drug, right? Tobacco's not safe. Alcohol's not safe. But yet, why don't most of us know that? Only 45% of Americans know that there is a risk of cancer that's increased when we consume alcohol. So we have a ways to go, is what it tells me. We have a ways to go about educating the public on the harms, the additional harms associated with drinking alcohol. So A lot of times I will hear from clients, it's like, oh, yeah, I know this is bad for me, or that's bad for me, or processed food is bad for me, or desserts are bad for me. So I don't have a problem with that. But for some reason, alcohol gets a hall pass. Alcohol, yeah, I don't know. I don't think of it as a bad substance for me. And so if you're in that camp, I just want you to sit with this information because I don't want you just to hear it and it goes in one ear and out the other. I want you to cognitively really process this and say, okay, wow, this can increase the risk of at least seven different types of cancer. And now that I know this information, what do I want to do about it differently? So, knowing about it is just the surface level, right? You can know a lot of facts, you can know a lot of statistics, you could know a lot of information and have none of that change your actions or your behaviors. And so, I just want to stop for a minute and ask you, okay, now that you have this information, maybe you knew it and now you're being exposed to it again because I'm talking about it. Maybe you didn't know it and now you're learning it for the first time. You may want to pause the podcast or this video and really ask yourself, will I allow this or how will I allow this information to change my actions? Because as I mentioned at the beginning of this podcast, there is definitely an energy in the air where a lot of us are ready to like let go of things that aren't serving us. And a lot of us may feel like alcohol fits into that category, or sugar, or processed foods, or whatever it is for you. But what are you really ready to let go of? And does the data, right, that I'm presenting here support that to where it's easier to let go? Because you want to make it easy to let something go, not make it hard. You want to make it easy to step into that 2.0 version of you, that next level health, that next level goal setting for you that you have for yourself. So just really sit with that. Okay, so the next graphic I'm going to hold up just talks about the types of cancers, at least seven different types. So it's going through all the different types of cancer that we know alcohol does increase the risk of. That's not correlative, it's not a correlation, it's causation. We know it increases the risk and causes these types of cancers. And one that's on there, that a lot of us women worry about is breast cancer. We know that alcohol itself is a toxin. We know that it's poisonous to our cells. We know it damages our mitochondria, which is why we feel like an energy slump the next day, which is why we don't feel motivated to do things the next day. We just feel like, ugh. We know that it's also a depressant, right? So it's not going to make us feel good the next day. It might make us feel good when we drink it, but definitely not the next day. And so we also know that alcohol raises estrogen. And so this is postulated to be one of the mechanisms in which it can cause or it will cause an increased risk of breast cancer. So really, we want to take care of the tatas, we want to love on our body parts, and we want to love on our health. And so we want to make sure that we are aware of when we do consume alcohol, right? Making conscious choices, being mindful. I always want to be a mindful drinker. I never want my alcohol to be on autopilot. Never. I never want to feel like I'm not in control of the decisions that I make. And so I invite you into that as well. And then the next graphic I'm going to hold up, and this is going to be the last one I'm going to hold up, is this graphic talking about the higher the amount of alcohol that we have. So the higher alcohol consumption leads to more cancer. And there's the graph for women on the right and the graph for men on the left. And as you can see, for women, we are more susceptible to developing cancer with alcohol consumption. And certainly when compared to the same amount as our male colleagues or counterparts. So as you look, it's talking about this dark gray part, or excuse me, dark maroon part. And if you look at that, right, we're seeing that these are absolute risk numbers. So this is actual factual data of how many more women, when they have 2 drinks a day or 14 drinks a week, get a higher likelihood of cancer. And so if you look at someone who is drinking less than 1 drink per week versus somebody who's drinking 14 drinks per week, we see 5 more women out of 100 are at higher risk of developing cancer or would develop the cancer. So 5 more out of 100 with just 2 drinks a day or 14 drinks a week. So I want to stop here and say This is 2 drinks a day, 14 drinks a week. And if I look back in my history of when I was drinking, 2 drinks a day, are you kidding? That's it? Girlfriend, I was doing 3, I was doing 4. The weekends, I might have been doing more, right? Like a day, like 14 a week. What was my drink count that I mentioned, right? I was in the high 30s, low 40s of my drink count per week. Just think, I could have developed cancer back then. I increased my risk significantly when I look at this chart. Gosh, thank you, Lord, that I don't have cancer. Wow. I'm so glad that I've changed my ways and my behavior because these statistics are alarming to me. And I want to make another point. I know a lot of times I wanted to stick my head in the sand in terms of not knowing or not counting my drinks. It felt like counting calories. It felt like, oh, do I have to do this? It felt shameful. I don't want to know how much I'm drinking. Oh, I don't know. I just pour. I don't measure. I just pour. Big sip, little sip, whatever. It's just gone. Right? I wanted to stick my head in the sand. And so many of my clients want to do that too. And here's why I embrace the drink plan. And here's why I embrace counting your drinks. Because we need to know. We need to tell ourselves the truth. The most ignorant thing we can do is to stick our head in the sand and say, I don't know, I don't want to know. Because then uh we're not embracing that tension. Do you know when you know something, you get tension inside your body? And I call that internal tension, right? And then you want to solve that internal tension because we don't like internal tension. It doesn't feel good. And so bringing to light, telling ourselves the truth. When I counted my drinks one week and I got to 35 or 37 or 39, I was like, ouch, this creates a lot of tension for me. I don't want to be someone who drinks this much. And what did that tension do? It created tension for me to change. I was so uncomfortable knowing that this was the type of behavior and pattern I had in my life that I'm like, oh, I got to stop ignoring it. I got to stop sticking my head in the sand. Now that I know the truth, now that I feel this tension in my body, I want to change. So, that tension, ladies, I want to invite you to invite that into your body because that's going to motivate you to change. We think we're motivated to change to feel better, and we are. But a lot of us wait till the pain or wait till the tension gets bigger in order for us to make the change. So if you want that tension and we need that tension in our body to make the change, let it get bigger, right? Invite yourself into the truth and meet yourself where you're at. That's a big phrase that I love. I meet myself where I'm at so that I can improve, even if it's 1%, even if it's 2%. And that's why I embrace the drink plan when and counting our drinks when we are in the program of Epic You and we're looking at it. So we know about it. So we tell ourselves the truth. So we're no longer sneaky with ourselves. We're no longer hiding and lying. Because you know what that feels like? Crap. It feels terrible when you lie to yourself, when you don't, when you pretend not to know. Oh, you know. And so know the full truth, know the whole picture. It's knowledge that begins to set you free. So I'm such an advocate for women's health, and I want you to know the consequences of your decisions so that you can make educated choices. And when I talked about a couple of weeks on the podcast about my EPIC formula, E stood for education, because I want you to know. I want you to know what's in this report. I want you to know the science. I want you to know the facts so that you can make an educated decision. And when only 45% of the adult population in the United States knows, that's a problem. We need to change the labeling on alcohol so that more of the population is informed so that they can make educated decisions. Like, I want to know if I'm putting in my body can cause cancer. I really want to know that about everything. I want to know that about my food. I want to know that about anything that I put in my body. And so I think the labeling that hasn't changed since 1988 on alcohol needs an update. Certainly needs an update. We have it on cigarettes, we have it on other things. Ireland is putting in a great label change that's going to be effective 2026, and I hope we follow suit. I really hope that we educate the public fully, fully on what is in that bottle. And if we're talking about wine, I invite you to back to my podcast with Todd White, where he talks about alcohol is just one component in wine that's toxic and potentially carcinogenic. There's like 67 other undisclosed ingredients that go into wine and winemaking process. I mean, when I heard that, I was like, oh, I was thinking that whole bottle was mostly alcohol and I don't know what the other stuff was. Was it water? Was it yeast? What was it? What was in there? When he talked about there could be up to more than 67 other ingredients, and some of those are considered carcinogenic, and that's also in the wine bottle. I was like, why didn't anybody tell me this? Why don't I know this? Why aren't why isn't this disclosed on the bottle? Why is it so secret? And he talks about why it's so secret in that podcast. So when I started to educate myself, what happened? I started to change my behavior. I started to change the way I viewed alcohol. I started to want to change my relationship because the tension inside of my body got really ugly and negative. I was getting mad. I was getting mad at the people not disclosing the information. And I think we deserve to know. We deserve to know the truth. You deserve to know the truth. So when we look at what it takes to change, remember, some of us change because the pain becomes uncomfortable. And a lot of times it's not like I hit rock bottom. I'm not working with most of the women that I work with. They're not hitting rock bottom. Their lives aren't disheveled. They're still paying their mortgages. They still have a house. They're still running a happy life. What gets them is their self-concept. They look at themselves or they think about themselves in a negative way because they have this habit. And that's enough of a pain point where they're like, that tension, that pain point, I don't want that in my life anymore. I hear it from women all the time. They say, gosh darn it, I'm a 50-year-old, blah, 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 or I'm a 60-year-old, I'm a 70-year-old, blah, blah, and I'm sick of this problem. I want it changed. And yes, amen to that. And you can have the change. Absolutely. It's never, never too late, and never have anybody believe that about you or you believe that about yourself, because that is not the truth. We can change at any time we want. And as I was telling you, there's definitely an energetic flow and an energetic shift that I'm feeling here and with my friends. And we're like moving that energy because it feels so good to let go of things that are holding you back from being your best self. So I want you to think about being free, being free of this carcinogenic, being free of alcohol. And when you're free of that, what are you inviting in? I mean, that's an amazing thing to think about. Just want you to sit back and say, oh, if I was free from the clenches or the pull or the desire of alcohol, wow, what would that feel like? How would my life be different? A lot of times when we're thinking about giving something up, there's fear, right? Fear comes up. Can I do it? Fear of failure. I don't know. I want you to invite in different energy, transformative energy. I want to transform my relationship with alcohol to a new one, to a 2.0, a 3.0, and I'm not going back because this is going to be so freeing and it's going to feel so good. It doesn't have to be with fear. You can invite it in with freedom. I'm not attached. It feels amazing to be free. So when you invite in freedom, I just want to invite you in to some things that I've been thinking about. So you can be free from hangovers. You can be free from that next day anxiety, which never feels good, and depression, right? You get the lows, you get the blues. And a lot of times you can't take it. So by 4 o'clock, you're pouring yourself another drink because you're like, oh, I feel so crappy. Oh, I feel so blue. Oh, I'm so anxious or I'm so restless. Oh, let me just pour a drink. It'll make it go away. But if you removed most of the alcohol or all of the alcohol, you're inviting in being free from that without needing the alcohol. You're inviting in freedom from crappy mornings. No more crappy mornings. No more feeling like, oh, the headache, the brain fog. Oh, no more self-loathing. What did I do the night before? Oh my gosh, I don't want to take out my recyclables. Oh gosh, I can't believe I did that. You could be free from that mental chatter. Do I drink? How much do I drink? Oh, I said I'd stop at one, which means you could be free from lying to yourself, right? When you say you're going to stop and you don't, you're lying. You could be free from that. How amazing would that feel to be free from lying to yourself day in, day out, or every other day, or how many ever times a week? You could be free from sneaking the drink. I talk to a lot of women who I don't want my kids to see me, so I hide it or I put it in a cup where it's not a wine glass, but it's just not enjoyable drinking it out of like a thermos. I really rather the wine glass, but I'm sneaking it or I'm sneaking it from my husband or I have a stash in my closet or in the outside fridge and I just sneak a drink here or sneak a pool there. Like, can you be imagined to be just free of needing to sneak it? You could be free from feeling like you're harming yourself, your brain, your liver, your cells. Maybe you're harming relationships. Maybe you're harming the relationship you have with yourself, right? You could be free of that. You could be free of not trusting yourself around alcohol. There was times where I'd be like, if alcohol was around me, I was ordering it, I was getting it, or I was pouring it. Now I'm like, I could be around it and it doesn't faze me like it used to. And I could be free from that. And you could be free from that. You could be free from I hear this a lot. I don't know why I keep doing this. I don't like it. Well, let's discover why you keep doing it and let's change that. Let's know. I mean, it feels terrible not to know things in your life. And then once we know, right, and you feel that tension, like I mentioned in your body, then you're inviting yourself into, yeah, this doesn't feel good. I want to change it. And that feels powerful. It feels powerful to walk in the energy of I'm changing and transforming my relationship with alcohol forever. And I don't want to go back because I know it doesn't feel good there. And I deserve to feel good, whole, complete, and healthy. So you can be free from this awful habit, this automatic habit, this pattern, whatever the pattern looks like for you. It could be a daily thing, it could be a nightly thing, it could be a weekend thing, it could be a binging thing, it could be once I start, I don't stop, right? You can free yourself from that. How amazing would that feel, that freedom? You can be free from this problem. And I want to tell you that wholeheartedly because there was a part of me that was afraid I would never be able to be free from alcohol. And I love it when people say, I am free from alcohol. I don't want to say I'm sober. I want to say I'm free. I'm free from alcohol. Sober makes it, to me, it's not a terrible word, but sober is like, boring. No, I'm free from alcohol. I don't have the problem anymore. I don't over drink anymore. It feels amazing. And I say that so you know it's possible. And that is available to you should you choose it. And that's what it requires to stop disconnecting from yourself and connect with yourself. You are an amazing human. You're an amazing person. And you can choose to be free from this anytime you want. You can choose today. You can choose now. You can choose tomorrow. But you can choose anytime you want to be free from the pulls of alcohol. And when you choose that, you're honoring your health. You're honoring your body. You're honoring your mind and your soul because your soul doesn't want to be caged and tied to alcohol. It wants to run free and wild and be feeling like, life is grand. And I make great decisions and I can trust myself and I can look at myself and my self concept, the way I feel and look at myself, I'm confident, I'm in control, and it feels amazing. So I invite you into this freedom where you could be free from the bottle, free from the drink, free from feeling like you need to order it at the bar. This freedom feels amazing. And when you choose that, I just want to say that it's a powerful place. It's not one of weakness. It's not one of trepidation. I want to invite you into the freedom and the courage to choose it. And I have a story for you. There was a client who I was working with, and she was drinking every day and not feeling good about it. And it wasn't terribly problematic in any of her relationships, just the relationship with herself. She really looked down upon herself because she couldn't get this under control. It wasn't an excessive amount, but it was excessive for her. It was excessive because she didn't like that she had that feeling and she did it every night. So when we were working together, we got it down to where she wanted to be. She just wanted to drink on weekends, and we got there. She had no desire for it Monday through Thursday. She just drank Friday, Saturday, and some Sundays. And then she's like, the Sundays don't feel good to me. I don't know why I'm drinking. I want to be sharp for the, week ahead. And I work full time and I want to be sharp on Mondays. And I'm not always sharp on Mondays. So the Sunday has to go. Okay. So we worked to get Sundays off. And then we were talking again. And then she's like, I don't know, this Friday and Saturday thing. Now it's bugging me. Why is it bugging me? It didn't used to bug me. Before I just thought it was fine. And now I'm no longer fine with it. And I think I want to conquer that. So we set out a plan and we conquered that. And then the one time she's like, I'm not making any progress. What is going on? I'm so terrible. I drink on Fridays and Saturdays. And I said these words to her. And I want to share this with you in case it sets you free too. I said, you don't drink 5 days a week. You are free 5 days a week. Just choose your freedom on the other two. You're free. This isn't a problem anymore for you. It used to be, but it's no longer a problem for you. It was those words. The next week we had a call and she was just crying. She's like, "Oh my gosh, I never thought how powerful it could feel to be free." And you were right. I was free 5 days a week, but why was I holding on to it for the additional two? I don't know. It was like I was insecure. It was my would-be. It's like the things you talk about, my adult pacifier. I don't know why I wasn't just willing to be free. And once you said I could be free and I could choose my freedom, I want to be free all the time. And that was it. That was it. It changed her mindset. It changed her relationship to how she was in relationship with alcohol because she still felt caged because she was carrying around that burden for years, thinking she still had to carry around the burden. And I said, "No, you're free. You get out of jail card. You get to go. You're free. You don't have to hang on to this anymore." And still to this day, we keep in touch. And she's like, "Oh my gosh, I am so free from alcohol thanks to you. Thank you for giving me my freedom." So, my friend, I want to give you your freedom. You just have to choose it. Just choose. Choose to be free. And it feels amazing. And I invite you into that. All right, my friend, with that, I embrace you choosing to be free. I invite yourself into being free, be epic, be healthy this year, and I will see you next week.